Okay, here we go. Sequences, chapter 4 sequences. And today is arithmetic sums. So sum is the key there. When you see the word sums, you should be thinking I'm adding a bunch of stuff up. Really what we're going to be doing is what are called partial sums. And before I go any further, if you look at the example, what kind of sequence is the example? Madison, I'm assuming that's algebra on that card? Okay. So what kind of sequence is that? Somebody raise your hand and tell me what kind of sequence this is. There's two possibilities. Good, take a shot. You might be wrong. The question's hard to ask. John? Nope, not a Fibonacci. Alexandra? Yeah, what else? What other kind of sequence is it? All sequences can be boiled down to two basic kinds. All right, the three ellipses tell you it's infinite sequence. Is it possible to sum an infinite sequence? No, it goes on forever. How could you add it up? It goes on to infinity and beyond. All right, so you can't sum it. However, we can sum part of it. That's what we mean partial sum. So I'm going to sum part of it. For example, give me the sum of the first 8 terms. Give me the sum of the first 30 terms. Right? We'll sum part of it. That's what we're doing today. All right, so what is a partial sum? It's a sum of some of the consecutive terms of a sequence. All right, let me remind you that the first term is the 1, right? And the second is the 4, and the third is the 7, and the fourth is the 10, etc. The fifth is the 13, the sixth is the 16, etc., etc. And by the way, an arithmetic sequence has a common what? Somebody raise your hand and tell me. Abby? Not denominator, but you got the D right. A common difference, right. And what's the common difference for this sequence? Adam? It is 3, right? Every number is 3 more than the previous one. So we really know after the 19 comes a 22, and then a 25, and a 28, etc., 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 etc. All right, so that's the idea. So if they gave you a capital S, they want you to do a partial sum. Earth to Daydreamers. So this capital S means a partial sum. And guess what the 5 tells you? First 5 terms, right? So this is first 5 terms. And the S is the partial sum. So I want the partial sum of the first 5 terms. That's not hard. How would your work look for something like this? Well, you'd simply do 1 plus 4 plus 7 plus 10 plus 13. That's all I need to see for the work. You'll either do it in your head or punch it into your calculator. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I summed up the first 5 terms. By the way, 13 would be the 5th, right? And what is that? 5 and 7 is 12, and 10 is 22, 32, 35 would be the value of the partial sum of the first 5 terms. Right? So we didn't sum the whole sequence, just the first 5 terms. All right, so what would S of 8 be? Hey, we could be a little smart here, right? Isn't that the first 5? Be a little tricky. Now, look, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But being we already know the first 5 is 35, I'm going to be a little tricky. Now I need the 6th term, which class is a 16. There's the 6th. The 7th is a, and the 8th is a 22. So again, use your calculator, add them up, 35, 45, 51, 60, 70, good, 92. And again, if you can't do it in your head, do it on the calculator. Okay, so I took a little shortcut on that second one because we could. assuming we had the first ones correct. All right, so what would you do with B here? You got the sequence -3, 7, 17. Go ahead and do the sum of the first 5 terms. Again, show the work, meaning show the adding what 5 terms you adding, and then you can use your calculator and finish it off. Show the work, showing the first 5 terms you're adding, and then use your calculator or your head. All right, so hopefully you got an answer of 85, right? Because you knew the -3 was the first, the 7 the second, the 17 the third. You deduced the common difference of 10, right? D is a 10. Therefore, you knew the fourth was 27, and the fifth was 37, and you added correctly, and you got 85, right? Not too bad. Hey, it'd be nice if we had a formula that will do this for us. Because what if I asked you for the sum S sub 50? How many terms are you adding? 50. Be nice to have a formula, wouldn't it? And we have a formula. All right, so summing up n amount of terms. They want 10, n is 10. They want 50, n is 50. If they want 100, n is 100. So take your green and say n is the number of terms. However many they want you to sum, right? Take your green and take that n and put that on the top line of the formula. We're going to multiply that times. Somebody tell me what a sub 1 is. What is a sub 1? Come on, every hand should be up. What's a sub 1? Say it if you know it. First term, right? All that is the first term. A sub n, like if they said sum the first 10 terms, a sub 10 would be the last term. Now be careful, there is a sign between them, but you're just adding those up. Honestly, all the formula is a kind of a way to get a pseudo-type average. You need the first and last added up. We need to multiply times the number of terms, and this pseudo-average should be divided by 2. You divide by 2. So again, it's not an average. I say pseudo. It's a concept to hopefully help you remember too. Now, you got to remember the formula. If you don't remember the formula, you're not going to be able to get them. 3 years from now, when you take the SAT, the Scholastic Aptitude test for college, hopefully you'll remember the formula. Maybe they'll be nice and give you the formula, at which case you just got to remember what everything means. Okay? So let's go ahead and use it. So here's a sequence. Look familiar? We're going to sum the first 5 terms using the formula. So S sub 5. So let's be clear. What does n equal, class? What does n equal? 5. Remember, n is the total number of terms. So now if I run the formula, I have to put a 5 first, right? A sub 1 is 1. Come on, think now. Think. I'm just going through the formula. A sub n is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, right? First 5 terms, 13. Does that make sense? We're doing the first 5 terms. A sub n is the 5th term. And what do I divide by? 2. All right, math-wise, this is a 5 times a 14 divided by a 2. Hey, you know how I do this problem? I divide the 2 and the 14, get it 7, and 7 times 5 is 35. And didn't we find earlier that the sum of these first 5 terms was 35? Wasn't that right back up here, right? It's the same sequence. Hey, the formula better give you the same thing as doing it longhand. Now again, what's the formula for? Give me S sub 37. Give me S sub 99. Well, you better use a formula. Better use a formula. Better use a formula. All right? So, if you know the explicit formula, you can find A sub 1, because you need that, right? And you can find A sub n, because you need that. So if they give you the explicit formula, and if you guys will remember, that's an explicit formula, right? It'll allow you to figure out the value of any term. So here they give you the explicit formula. Now normally they would just say this, find S sub 32, and all you have is an explicit formula. You then should know, this is the way it will work in normal world. They tell you find S of 22, and you say it equals n times A sub 1 plus A sub n, I would write this, divided by what, class? 2. You write the formula. And then you start subbing into the formula. So you got S sub 32. We all know n is 32. Do you know that? Remember, n is however many terms you're summing, 32. Now you get to this part of the formula and you say to yourself, self, I don't know, Byron, the first term. I don't know the first term, do you? And so therefore you would then say, let me find A sub 1. Because you're running the formula and you don't have A sub 1. You say, well, let me find A sub 1. And hopefully you remember, all you got to do is stick 1 in for the variable, right? Because remember, the explicit formula allows you to find any term. And now we just found out that A sub 1 is a negative 1. Agreed? Go a little higher for you here. By the way, again, if I'm going too fast, watch the video tonight again. So A sub 1 is negative 1. Now you get to A sub n in the formula. You say, I don't know A sub n. Well, I got to find that. How do I find it? Explicit formula. I can find A sub 32. That's A sub n, right? The last term of the 32nd partial sequence. And again, wherever the variable is, stick in the 32. 3 times 32 is 96. 96 minus 4 is 92. And now I have A sub 32. It goes in the formula. And don't forget to divide by 2. You can use your calculator on this. I would. You're going to end up with 16 times 91, right? You're going to end up with 32 divided by 2 is 16. 16 times 91 is... Anybody got it on their calculator? 1,456. Hey, that's a whole lot better than adding them up manually, 32 terms. What if we said 111 terms? What if we said 99 terms? What if we said a million terms? Okay? So, did you notice really, normally the problem will be just find S sub 32. Once you write the formula, you should say to yourself, oh, I got to find A sub 1. I can use the explicit to find it. I need to find A sub 32. I can use the explicit to find it. I got everything I need to run the formula. That's the way the real world works for Cal. You're going to have to watch the video. Unfortunately, I don't have time to go back. So watch that video again tonight. You can pause it. Again, I know I'm going fast. I'm going fast. Okay, so there's the formula again. So one other scenario. What if they give you, what if they just give you something and they don't even give you an explicit formula? So here's what they gave you. Find S sub 50 for the first 50 positive integers. Okay. Well, this one we can get away with because life is easy. But don't forget, we have already learned a formula to find the explicit formula, right? Now, this is something we've done already. If we know the first term and the common difference, we can find the explicit formula to find any term. Now, the example I gave, we really don't need it. But other situations, you would need it. They might just list a sequence for you. Don't write this. Maybe they'll have one 5, 11, 17, dot, dot, dot. Remember, from that, a sub 1 is 5. N, it stays as N. What is D? 6. I can write an explicit formula, right? I would do, don't do this, 5 plus N minus 1 times 6. Distribute 6N minus 6. So here's my explicit formula. 5 positives and 6 negatives. There's my explicit formula. Could I now find the 50th term of this? Easy, right? So if I were doing that one, it'd be that way. This one's easy. First 50 numbers, we're going to use the formula S of 50 equals N times A sub 1 plus A sub N over 2. My time's up. That's how you'd finish that. You guys, page 157, just 3 problems. 546 quiz tomorrow. 546 quiz tomorrow. Again, go back and watch the video tonight if that'll help you. Read the book as well. That'll help you.